Welcome to the Tennessee Community Engaged Alliance Against COVID-19 Wellness Wednesday, also known as the TNCEAL Wellness Wednesday Show. I am Dr. Katherine Y. Brown, your host. Now, more than ever, we must stay informed and stay engaged about the COVID-19 pandemic in Tennessee. Our communities in Nashville, Memphis, and surrounding areas must increase our understanding of the factors that contribute to the disproportionate burden of COVID-19 in underserved communities. Throughout our conversations on this show, we have been introducing you to thought leaders that continue to establish effective community engaged strategies that are aimed to increase knowledge, awareness, testing, vaccine readiness as they address structural inequities and COVID-19 disparities. In honor of Women's History Month, we have two dynamic trailblazers with us today. Our first guest is none other than Dr. Phyllis Qualls. We also have the phenomenal Lorianne Mays. Ladies, please introduce yourselves to our audience. And first, just start by telling them a little bit about your backgrounds. Now, I know you personally, so I could have gone on for about 2 days reading all of the accolades and dynamic things that you all have done. But in your own words, just share a little bit about your background and your professional journey as we get started. Dr. Phyllis.
I was looking at Lorianne and said, go for it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Brown, for convening this opportunity with us during Women's History Month to talk about these issues that impact our lives, because we know that the women are the foundation of the family. And so as women have good health and a sense of wellness about themselves, then they can embrace the family in a more effective way. You can see on my background the historic building of Griggs Hall on the American Baptist College campus. This is where I am, and I live most of the time as the Vice President for Institutional Advancement. And while we're working, I have staff here working with me on another project, so we never stop. But here at American Baptist College, it certainly has a history in the civil rights movement and a history as to the way it began in 1924. We will be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2024. And we are one of those small HBCUs, private, religious, that has never closed. So if you look around the country and you look at some of the schools that are theologies or theology institutions, theological institutions or seminaries, some of them have had a hiatus and they have had gaps, but this college, founded as the American Baptist Seminary, I'm saying it backwards, I'm sorry, seminary, has never closed. And that means a great deal to its history and, of course, to its vision as to what we can do the next 100 years. So we're very proud of that. We're proud of our students, and they know that they come here standing on greatness. While we talk about the movers and shakers of the 60s during the nonviolent era, like John Lewis and C.T. Vivian and James Bevel and those men and women too, then we know that we have to create that spirit of greatness in our students of today. Many who may not know who John Lewis was or may not know who James Bevel. We want them to know them, but what we want them to know even more is that they have greatness in them for whatever it is they will do. Whether it's writing a paper, getting themselves ready for graduate school, or just trying to be socially conscious so that our world can be a better place on a social level, then that's the greatness that's in them that they take from those whose shoulders they stand on and move on. So we're happy to host you here at American Baptist College, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pretty soon, we're going to take you up on that invitation and bring Wellness Wednesday to you personally so we can be live on set. So you let us know the date and the time and we're going to come there.
You're friend, William Green, and I have been talking because we want you to come out and do some pieces of CPR with the students, but that's going to be a little bit later when COVID has settled in another place, gone to the sea of forgetfulness or someplace. So do that and incorporate that sense of wellness, because how, as you talk about how that saves lives, and so many times there are those occurrences and someone has CPR training, and then they can make the vision in that person's future a future as to another opportunity, another situation that could happen when you're not trained. So we look forward to that.
Thank you so much. All right, Lorianne, we want to hear all about you and your background.
All right, so my name is Lorianne Mays. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, born and raised, native, however you want to describe that. I have been an advocate for many things for probably over 20 years. I started volunteering at the age of around 12. So I just found places that I wanted to go, asked my mom to take me, and that's how I got started. I volunteer mostly with organizations like the American Cancer Society. In the state of Tennessee, I'm known for my work with the American Heart Association. So I currently serve on the Tennessee Advocacy Board, as well as I serve on two Southeastern regional boards, Multicultural Affairs, and then there's another that's centered around our HBCU initiative. So I was excited to see that American Baptist College background because I definitely have a love for historically Black colleges. I briefly attended Bennett College for Women in Greensboro, which is right across from North Carolina A&T. So shout out to all the Bennett Bells. And we have a family legacy which extends from Atlanta University to Morehouse College, where one of my great uncles served as president. So with that, I have a side hustle in business that is called Diaspora Girl History and Research. So I'm all about empowering the next generation on the importance of knowing the legacy of our historically Black colleges, but also introducing them and engaging them in African American and Africana research studies. So by day, Monday through Friday, I am a banker. And what I do is help people with their finances, from budgeting, helping people purchase their first cars, first homes, refinancing. That is what I do. So I call myself, I hate to use the Wonder Woman type type label, but we know as women and as Black women in particular, there is really nothing that we can't do once we put our minds to it. It's just that women truly are the foundation of the world, because from us comes life in many different forms. So I'm just honored to be here and speaking to you ladies, which are phenomenal doing your things in Nashville. And we just have sisters all over the state of Tennessee shutting things down. So I just thank you for the opportunity. And that's that's about me in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it both. So for our listeners near and far, you stay right where you are, stay locked, because there are some nuggets of wisdom coming your way from these two dynamic women. So here's my first question to you. How has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted you personally or professionally, and what has been your response to that?
Which one was one of the first? Laura, you want to go first? Or
Yes, she has unmute.
Particular, I think navigating through COVID has been something that everyone has had to adjust to, and not willfully adjust, but it's one of those you just had to kind of go with the flow, roll with the punches. I've had many people in my immediate family who contracted COVID, whether it had been in the early stages or recently, and friends have had family members pass away. So it's been one of those things that as the day comes, as the week comes, as the month comes, you just really have to know how to transition and move along. But also, I think too, what I've seen, especially in my city in particular, a lot of people have stepped up to help one another. Career-wise, I started Actually, I started my career in banking right when COVID started. So I went into a bank, and then like 3 weeks later, everything was shut down. So we went strictly to working by appointment only and running appointments actually through the drive-through. So that was a huge transition for me because I'm one of those people. I like interaction, physical interaction. Um, I like talking to people. I like meeting in person. So to have to talk to people through a drive-through or by phone, it was kind of tough, but we made it through. And now, with some things kind of lagging off, it's just kind of, you have to see where things are going to fall, because as we see the cases drop, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not still we won't have the potential for another surge. We've seen it take place in other countries, but I think too, we just can't become lax to the point where we think this thing is gone away, and we see those numbers gradually increase. I know here in Hamilton County, the CDC released a couple of weeks ago that, you can kind of relax with the mask mandates. Well, specifically here, they've told everyone else nationally that you don't have to wear a mask. But for Hamilton County, we still recommend that you all continue to wear your mask. So to me, that was definitely putting us on notice, because regardless of the steps that we think we've taken, we still have a ways to go. And you have people that, agree with mask mandates, you have people that don't. But I look at it from a standpoint as, I'm going to protect myself, but protecting myself includes protecting you at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Dr. Qualls, I want you to answer the same question, but I want to kind of get a kaleidoscope, because you have been a kaleidoscope, because you've not just dealt with it on the campus, you've been a leader for more than one women's organization and family. So I'm going to kind of nudge you a little bit. I want a little tough response coming that way.
You're right, Katherine. And with this COVID, it has just been the unimaginable for all of us. And whether you start inward with yourself, or if you start outward with all of the organizations of which I'm involved in, the model is the same. You've got to protect yourself and your health. So so how do you do that? You wear a mask, you keep the distance, you wash your hands and do all those basics, and you watch yourself in crowds and don't get too comfortable. And you branch that out. I am a part of an organization, and so we had to stop with in-person meetings, and then major events we couldn't have in person. So we had to get creative. And here at the college, we had to change to a new modality, and no in-person classes going back to March of 2020 and moving forward. So the first year that we did it in that March, we had to move so fast, as did everybody. So we had to move the grading system to pass fail. And then as we went into the fall of 2020 to 2021, then we still had everything was virtual. And so we came back this fall, and then we had to go back to virtual because there was an upsurge. So there is no comfortability anymore. You are constantly uncomfortable. Find out how to maneuver, how to function in this uncomfortable situation. Those of us who are touchy-feely and hugging, and you can't do that anymore. So how do you make that adjustment? How do you have every meeting on Zoom and you can't do it in person? But what you have to do, I believe, is to be creative and say, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to practice good health, but I'm not going to stop. So how do you work with that? Many churches have gone virtual, but it's not just sitting at a Zoom class and on a Zoom and preaching. You have to still be engaging to your attendees, because it's just like, who wants a talking head? So you've got to have something to give them to reach out and touch. So first, I wish I had invested in Zoom. I'd be rich.
We all would be.
Got the Zoom and we had to learn how to master that.
Yeah,
So that helped a lot because it was more than a conference call,
that's right.
what we were doing before conference calling. But now you Zoom, so at least you can see the person and talk. And then for particularly for women, but for men too, you had to get the dress right and the look right, because this Zoom has showed me some things I didn't even see in my mirror. So I had to readjust here and get it straight, because reading on one of the pieces on some, you might say, oh, I don't care today. You know how sometimes we can go to work and it's just, but you have to think about the people looking at you.
Yes.
I want to see you looking like that. So you gotta fix it up. So those are the kinds of things, but the most important thing is don't stop because of COVID. Find creative ways to keep it moving for yourselves and your organization. And that's why colleges went to a new modality. That's why organizations said we can be creative.
Yes.
And one of the organizations, Les Gems, last year we had our first total virtual luncheon. And the year before, we had nearly 400 people in person. So how do you go from that to virtual? But we were creative and we were daring, and we had all kinds of bells and whistles so nobody would get bored. And by the time they saw this, then we brought up this. And we had our speakers to be limited to about 15 or 20 minutes so that they would not bore the attendee. Because we all know what we do. You turn it on, you look, and you go on and do something else. So we wanted to keep them engaged. And I think that's the most important thing, being creative and keeping your audience engaged with your manner, with your tone, with all the gadgets that you can, that makes it work. Thank you so much.
I love it. So I'm going to open this one up to either of you to dive in first, right? Because we hear these buzzwords, you know, stay healthy, live healthy, but what is health to you and how do we maintain it? So what is health? If we're to stay healthy, stay home and stay healthy, then what is health?
I think it's different thing for different people. You know, it's kind of like your, what is that weight thing, your BMI?
Yes.
Different for different people. Mine might be a small number and somebody else's, it's just different. So you know your body.
Yes.
And you know what works for you. So 8 hours of sleep does not work for me. I don't need 8 hours of sleep, but I do need to rest my mind and my body. Staying socially conscious is important. To me, that's good health, because there is the physiological aspects of health, not just the physical, not just the mental. You pull all of those together, because we know when you start worrying, or at least that's in my case, when I start worrying, everything in my body goes haywire. Yeah. Head hurt, my stomach hurt, I can't eat, my shoes don't fit anymore, because everything is just gone haywire. But so to finding that calmness in your system or in all of this turmoil is what I think is good health for me. You know, we used to go shopping and that was therapy. Women go shopping for therapy. Well, shopping isn't always that engaging anymore. So you find other ways to read a book or to read a magazine or to write. I do a lot of writing, but staying healthy and of course, eating right. And a lot of us had to change our habits from not eating a lot of fast foods to eating more prepared foods at home. And so, and having family gatherings, that's one thing that we have gotten. The family is more together and you can laugh and play and talk about things that you used to just zip and run around. But now you sit down at the table eating, or you're watching television together. And that has brought a loving calmness to our systems. And I think all of those things are good health for each of us. And we just have to measure it according to our own bodies.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So you have given us socially consciousness, mental health, physical health, nutritional health, family health, being together and then measuring it according to what you need in your life. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm ready for some more nuggets. All right, Miss Mays, what is health?
So, look, I'm just really gonna piggyback off of that.
Right. She gave us the list. Look, I had to pull out the pen and paper. I said, now, let me write all of these nuggets down.
So I think I had a conversation earlier with a coworker, and we were discussing how COVID pulled back the veil on a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
And as where people were not as conscious in relation to their health, like their numbers, you always hear, especially when we're out in the community speaking on behalf of the Heart Association or the National Diabetes Association, the main focus is always know your numbers. But as Dr. Qualls shedded a light on, everybody's numbers are not the same. So you have to be in tune with not only your own inner body, but you have to have the right set of doctors in place. Mm-hmm. And that includes having a primary care internal medicine doctor. That includes for women having a gynecologist. In some cases, you might have to have a gastrointestinal specialist, orthopedic doctor. You know, there are various things that a lot of us deal with that not the next person does. So being at home for a lot of people, as to where you may have gotten out in the office, you were more active. Being at home on Zoom, there's not that much activity taking place. So as to where you may have been more mobile before, now your body, your arms, your legs are more inactive. So then in essence, you're thinking, okay, well, what do I need to do to increase my physical activity outside of the home? So therefore, that other piece about staying safe. Okay, so now I definitely have to ensure that not only I'm outside doing what I need to do to be physically active, to pull myself and make sure I'm still going forward, but also I need to practice and be conscious of ensuring that I'm healthy and practicing that towards others as well, like washing my hands, wearing my mask. Another thing was the mental health piece. So many people that are just focused on that interaction, having those personal relationships. You know, you're used to going out and meeting up with your friends, or you're used to those in-person meetings with various groups, your organizations. You're just used to that personal interaction. Mm-hmm. And that caused a lot of issues for people mentally, because everybody doesn't live in a house where they have several family members. For a lot of people, they live alone. So outside of getting out and having those interactions, there's nobody else for them to talk to. There's no hugs, you know, there's no laughter, there's no sitting down at the table with someone else. So then people had to figure out, okay, well, if this is the state that we're living in at this moment, what can I do to have those interactions with other people? What can I do to still not feel like I'm drowning, which is the way a lot of people described it during COVID. They felt like they were drowning. Absolutely. You have to reach out, start your Zoom groups. I know people were doing Zoom Zumba and Zoom knitting, Zoom crafting. I mean, all kinds of stuff just started on Zoom with groups. And so that really kept a lot of people, their spirits lifted, and a lot of people didn't end up going towards being depressed, but for some that ended up being the case. Yeah. But one thing that we did see, we saw the rise in a lot of mental health experts providing their services via virtual appointments. We saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of that too in the medical field, where you could easily, if something wasn't right, you could easily contact your doctor. They would set up a Zoom appointment. I had that take place several times for myself. So we saw the rise in a lot of things that are beneficial, because I feel like even after COVID, these things are still going to be vital for those who cannot get out and make those appointments, those who do not have transportation. So that's another piece to it. We saw the rise of Zoom, but we've also seen the benefits of Zoom. The benefits. So all around, you know, we've seen some of everything. Like I honestly, I was like, well, I guess the Lord wanted COVID to show us something. It showed us several things.
And we learned a lot. I mean, we learned a lot because we were on such a rapid trajectory in life, multitasking. And when we slowed down, people were, I mean, you know, as Dr. Phyllis said, spending more time with family, thinking about what we were putting into our bodies, thinking about life and longevity in a different way because it wasn't promised anymore. And so how will I spend my time? And I know myself personally, I pulled back from things like, you know, maybe I don't need to invest in that. So it gave us the time to reimagine. But there's one construct that people say, they say, I can't wait for things to go back to the way they were. And I'm pretty much an advocate. I don't want to go back to the way things were because it shed a light on people who were vulnerable populations that really needed more help. So a lot of things light got shed on. Now, let me tell you, ladies, I am introducing today for the first time ever the Wellness Wednesday lightning round. I'm going to give you a word and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me what that word means to you. And let me tell you, you all both are so amazing. It's going to be wonderful. All right. So the first word is going to go to, let's give it to you, Miss Mays. You ready? The first word is resilience. 30 seconds, and then I'll stop you.
So resilience to me just simply means being unstoppable, being able to transition with whatever comes your way. Resilience and perseverance kind of go hand in hand for me.
Okay. All right. And you did it in 15 seconds.
Oh my God.
That was good. All right. All right, Phyllis, it's on you. Resilience.
Oh, resilience means to me the ability to just keep pushing. And I remember the acronym for push until something happens. Just don't stop. Close your eyes when you were learning how to swim. And the teacher said, you can do it. And just close your eyes and jump in that water and start paddling. But resilience means not giving up, believing in yourself, stepping on your faith, stepping out and moving forward.
I love it. The next word is pandemic. We'll start with you, Phyllis. We'll go pandemic.
Well, we certainly have all kinds of illustrations for pandemics in the last 2 years, March of 2020, but that is an all-encompassing situation. Pandemics didn't just start with COVID-19. We've had pandemics all over the world. The flu was a pandemic decades ago. So that is nothing new. It's just new to this generation or this time now, but it just means all encompassing, and it's usually not something inviting.
All right, wonderful. All right, Lorian, same word, pandemic.
All right. So pandemic, I think like you said, for this generation, it's just something different. But historically, we've seen everyone across the world rise to fight against any type of pandemic, whether that be researchers, whether that be civilians, you know, doing what is necessary to make sure that we all push through and that we all see the other side of it. So this is not, you know, for us, it's not going to be the first in this generation. There'll be plenty more because that's just.
All right. So it would not be Women's History Month unless the next word was women or woman. I'll let you pick, women or woman.
The most beautiful, bold, brilliant, fantastic creatures that God created. Women. These are the people who endure pain without ceasing and can move on as if it is the best day of their world. You would never know the pain. These are people who would stop a Mack truck if it were going to get their child, or would raise up a dresser or a car to get their child from under it. And we know those cases. There's a woman is the most beautiful and loving creature God created.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right.
So when I think of the word woman or women, I think about community for one thing, and then I think about all that has transpired in the world. And
Yeah.
when you think about it, at the end of the day, nothing is able to happen, or nothing does happen if it was not for a woman. Women are unbreakable, unbendable. We are powerful. We are encouragers. If there's anything that can be done, we're going to do it. And we empower others to do it as well. When I think about woman or women, I think about the women in my family and how they persevere no matter what. So, looking at yourself in the mirror, you owe it to all of those who have come before you to continue to walk in their path and continue to trailblaze. And basically, you're their living destiny.
I
So,
love it. Thank you both so much. Listen, the one thing I love about this particular show is that this is part of the oral history, the oral tradition. And this time with you will be archived forever. So, with that being said, as we prepare to close, is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers? Anything at all? And we'll start with you, Ms. Mays.
I think with this being Women's History Month, we just become and be more intentional with honoring the women that are in your lives, honoring and showing gratitude to those who have come before you with the things that you do on a daily basis, whether it's in your job, whether it's in the words that you say, and just continue to persevere and push forward. There's a lot of things that are taking place in this world right now, and it can weigh down a lot on everybody. But I just want most of the women and all of the women, really, especially my Black sisters, just to continue to persevere, hold your head high. And when you feel like you need a shoulder or an encouraging word, reach out, because you already know there's going to be a sister waiting for you to lift you right back up.
Absolutely.
First, let me thank you and Moncherie with Mojo Marketing for putting this program together. I am just very excited about it and honored to have been one of your guests. And as we talk about whether it's Women's History Month, Black History Month, every day is an opportunity to do something better. There's an old expression called, I believe it's from the Far East, Kaizen. And Kaizen means doing better today than you did yesterday. So realizing that we have a community and that we are responsible for each other, and what we do, young people, older people model after us. So you're always on stage. So you're always doing your best, because whether nobody else sees you, you can get under your desk and hide. You should know that God is with you. So always give it your best, always do your best. And in those times when you are challenged, know that you've got somebody looking over you, taking care of you, and lifting you. Thank you all so much. And Miss Lorianne, I love your name. It was a pleasure to be on this with you today.
Thank you so much. How can viewers find you both? I don't want to let you go without telling me that. Really, how can they find you? Because hashtag, website, social media handle, let us know how people can stay in touch with you. Because this is March 2022, but somebody's going to look at this later on. How can they find you? Either of you can go first, Lorianne.
So I can be found on social media. It's my name, Lorianne Mays, as on Facebook, and then on Instagram and Facebook as well is Diaspora Girl History and Research.
All right, Diaspora Girl History and Research. So they can find you on those social media handles. All right, very good, Dr. Qualls.
You can locate me surely at American Baptist College, pqualls at abc.edu, the old-fashioned way, and on Facebook as well. But social media is part of our lives, from TikTok to an email. So it is important that we are active in those formats, and that we are able to reach out and touch. So that's how you can get in touch with me right now.
Thank you. And thank you all again so much for being on today's historic episode. For our viewers around the world, I invite you back to join me next week for TNCEAL Wellness Wednesdays. You won't want to miss an episode, and be sure to like and share this message. Until next time, stay informed, stay healthy, and share this message with your community. I am Dr. Katherine Y. Brown, your host. Have a great day, everyone.